Puddle Lane, magic balloons. Magic balloons. The magician lived in an attic room in the old house in Puddle Lane. He didn't often go down into the lane, but he had a magic puddle of water on the floor of his room. When he looked into the puddle and said the right spell, the water in the magic puddle became as clear as glass. He could look into it and see what was happening down below in Puddle Lane. The magician. One day the magician looked into his magic puddle of water and saw old Mr. Go-to-bed sitting outside his house in Puddle Lane. Mr. Go-to-bed was sitting in the sunshine and he was fast asleep. The magician looked into the magic water. Peter Puffle came charging up the lane riding his wagon. He had a tin trumpet in his hand, and he blew the trumpet loudly in Mr. Go-to-bed's ear as he went by. Mr. Go-to-bed woke up with a start, but before he could say anything, Peter had turned his wagon around and charged off down the lane. "I wish that boy would play somewhere else," said Mr. Go-to-bed. He got up and went into his house, shaking his head. Peter Puffle came up the lane. Mr. Go-to-bed woke up. Sarah and Davy came through the gates out of the garden. They were pulling their music box along on an old cart they had made. Peter came rushing back up the lane on his wagon. "Hello, Peter," said Davy. "Let's have a blow on that trumpet." "Get one for yourself. This one's mine," said Peter. He turned the wagon round and went off down the lane. Sarah and Davy met Peter Puffle. "Never mind, Davy," said Sarah. "Our music box is much better than his silly trumpet." She gave the cart a pull, but as it moved forward, a wheel fell off. Sarah pulled the cart. "That's done it," said Sarah. "We'll have to mend it." They lifted the magic music box out of the cart and set it down on the ground. Then they turned the cart on one side to look at the wheel. Sarah and Davy took the box out of the cart. They were just trying to fix the wheel on again when Peter Puffle came rushing back, riding his wagon. He stopped to watch them. "Has that old thing broken down again?" he said. "Lend us your wagon, Peter," said Sarah. "Then we can take the music box home and come back for the cart." Peter came back up the lane. He stopped to look at Sarah and Davy. "You can't have it," said Peter. "I want it." "It will only be for a few minutes, Peter," said Davy, "just while we take the music box home." "It's my wagon and I'm playing with it," said Peter, and he went off down the lane. Davy and Sarah picked up the music box and carried it home between them. Peter Puffle went down the lane. Sarah and Davy picked up the box. The magician watched everything in the magic puddle of water. "I think I'll go down into Puddle Lane," he said to himself. "I'll make a little magic. I'll go down and see Peter Puffle." He muttered a spell and snapped his fingers. The magician said, "I will make a little magic." In a flash, the magician vanished, and an old man stood there with a bunch of balloons in his hand. The magician laughed softly to himself and went out of the door of his attic room, down the stairs and through the garden and out into Puddle Lane. The magician vanished, and an old man was there with balloons in his hand. Peter Puffle came charging up the lane in his wagon. He saw the magician and stopped. "Are you selling those balloons?" he asked. "I'll have them." "How many do you want?" asked the magician. "I want them all," said Peter. "Aren't there other children in Puddle Lane who'd like one?" asked the magician. "Yes," said Peter, "but I'm here first. I'll buy them all." He pulled out some money and the magician gave him the bunch of balloons. The magician gave the balloons to Peter Puffle. As soon as Peter took hold of the bunch of balloons, he shot up into the air. He hung there as high as the roofs of the houses, and he clung to the balloons as hard as he could. "Help!" cried Peter. "Help! Get me down!" The balloons took Peter Puffle up to the roofs of the houses. Sarah and Davy came running out of their house. "Peter!" cried Sarah. "Come down!" Harry and Geeta looked out of their door. "We'll get a ladder," cried Harry. "Peter!" cried Sarah. "Come down!" "We will get a ladder," cried Harry. "There's no need for a ladder," said the magician. "Let go of the balloons one by one. Don't let them all go at once. If you let them go one at a time, you will come down slowly." "Let the balloons go one by one," said the magician. Peter let a balloon go, and he came down a little way towards the ground. The balloon floated down, and Sarah caught it. Peter let a balloon go. He came down a little way. "Now let the next one go," said the magician. Peter let another balloon go, and then another. He dropped down until he could see in the top windows of the houses. The balloons floated down into Puddle Lane. Geeta caught one, and Harry caught the other one. Peter let a balloon go. He came down a little way. "One more," said the magician. Peter let one more balloon go and dropped down still further. The balloon floated down, and Davy caught it. "Now let all the others go," said the magician. Peter let the balloons go and dropped safely to the ground. The balloons floated away up and over the roofs of the houses. "Let all the balloons go," said the magician. "Are you all right, Peter?" asked Davy. "I think so," said Peter. "Here's your balloon," said Geeta, holding it out to him. "You can have it," said Peter. "I don't want it. I don't want any of them. You can keep them all." He ran off down the lane. "Here is your balloon, Peter," said Geeta. You can have it, said Peter. Gita turned to the magician. What shall we do with the balloons? She asked. Play with them, said the magician. They're yours. Peter gave them to you. He went back up the lane to his house, laughing softly to himself. The magician went back to his house. The children stood watching him until he went into the garden. Was he the magician? Asked Gita. He must have been, said Harry. They must be magic balloons. They seem all right now, said Davy. Let's go and mend our cart, said Sarah, and then we can play with the balloons. The four children went off up the lane together to mend the old cart. Sarah and Davy, Harry and Gita went up the lane with the balloons.